Welcome to the Pillow Fright Podcast. I'm Elissa, and I am one third of your besties here with a bonus episode that is out of this world. I'm off to a great start.
You're firing on all engines, or thrusters, as it were.
There we go. Yeah. Well, Amma and Kay had to sadly miss this one. I'm sure they're feeling some major FOMO from not talking about Critters 4. But, have no fear, because I am joined today by a writer, by co-host of the Kill by Kill podcast, by fellow team member of the best team of Dead Right Horror Trivia, which is Dawn of the Deadites. Duh. This is... Nope. Why did I say this is? Welcome. Welcome, Patrick Hamilton. Yay.
Thank you, Pillow Fright Nation. I'm so very pleased to be part of this space journey.
Thank you for volunteering as tribute. I know it's an undertaking, and I haven't even said what this episode is about, so I probably should do that. We just wrapped up our spaceship slaughters with Killer Clowns from Outer Space with our regular episodes, but today I wanted to do something that I dreamt up from the start. This was on my list of things to talk about, and when we found out we were doing space movies in space, I thought, franchises in space, sequels in space, and I was so excited about it. And I said, Amma, Kay, let's do a bonus episode. Are you down? And they weren't as keen as I was. Let's just say that. So I really appreciate this, because the moment I even thought up a silly idea to do a podcast in 2017, I have a vision board, like a vision list. And all of the movies I want to talk about today are on that list. So
Critters 4 is on this list.
Critters 4.
Is on this list.
This episode is for anyone else, the 12 people or more, hopefully more, that say, you know what? I love Critters 4. This podcast is for me. I'll try to bring more of this if you do. If not, I'm on my own and I'll just talk to the mirror. It's all good. But yeah, there's no set structure. There's no plot breakdown. I don't have the facts behind the scenes for these movies, really. I just kind of wanted to celebrate them because, hold on, let me get my notes. Just don't want to
deep. This is first and foremost a history podcast, and that's what's important.
Exactly. I got to get all of the history behind the scenes, all of the drama. I don't even know. But anyway, that being said, I know there are a lot of sequels in space. There are quite a few. I particularly wanted to focus on the franchise sequels, mainly, I can't even say it with a serious face, Critters 4, Leprechaun in Space, and Hellraiser Bloodline, which are three granddaddies of Oscar-winning films that I cannot wait to dive into. Because I love me a hot mess, and I don't use that term as a negative. If you know me, you know I genuinely love not great things. And let's be real, objectively, these are not award-winning films. They're there to entertain, and that's what I love about them. There's a charm to that.
Well, so it's particularly wild, I think, if we were to start, let's say, in Critters 4 territory, right?
Oh, let's do it.
Critters is very crunched time-wise in terms of when the first movie is and when Critters 4 happens. But Critters 4, I think, is one of the more interesting versions of this because you have an inherently alien invasion theme going through this. The Krites are from outer space. With the exception of a couple of minute scenes, it is a primarily Earth-based franchise up until 4. And they're like, we've done so many things out in the great outdoors with this franchise. You know what we should do? Cramp it up in tiny spaceship because no one's done that before. And you're like, but you had your own thing. You were alien gremlins. And then you're like, let's put it in a spaceship. It'll be fun.
It's like the one instance where you take the antagonist or the protagonist to space and it doesn't work, but they're from space. So it's kind of interesting how that kind of flip-flops there a little bit.
I think it's one of those instances in which successful for what it's trying to do in Crittersville, and it has kind of a history of like finding interesting people to be in movies. Like there's movie stars throughout the Critters franchise.
Yeah,
they become the biggest movie stars in the world,
literal award winners.
Yes, and so it's not like it hasn't been unsuccessful, but I think they feel the pressure to do something that they haven't done before. And unfortunately, with Critters 4, it is to remind people that Alien exists. And like Halloween, like Friday the 13th, a lot of people looked at Alien and said, I can do one of those.
Right.
It's a bunch of metal hallways. You put some shit on the wall, it'll be fine. Yeah. And then you get into it and you're like, oh no, that to make this enclosed space work for actual frights, that takes a lot of planning. That takes a vision. And Critters 4 has a vision. It's not 2020. Let's put it that way.
No, it's true. And I think out of all of these, Critters 4, I mean, for me personally, it's the most nostalgic. I grew up with this. I loved Critters 4. It scared me. I was younger when I saw this, and I didn't realize till later in life that Leo from Twin Peaks is in it, and he plays the exact same character, just in space and not as evil. But the screenwriter for this is David Scow, and he also did the screenplay. He also did the screenplay for The Crow, and I believe. Oh wait, he did. Did he do Critters too? I don't remember.
Well, but isn't Scow one of the splatterpunk novelist guys too? Or
I think so.
A different Scow.
I think so.
Yeah. Okay.
But I really like his writing. You know, you can tell that Critters 4 does the best with what it has. And I appreciate it because something I wrote in my notes is that with space horror, I think the charm in space horror, because it's very much an 80s, 90s thing. To me, in my brain, it's 80s and 90s because that was just the height of space movies. Space, anything can go to space. Because you got your first one, which establishes what it is. You have your sequel, which more often than not, I think in this franchise, I'm not positive, but I think it directly takes from the first one. Third, you usually go to your urban city, your typical urban city. 4, why not shoot them up to space? And I love that. And, I don't think there's any other genre definitely no other genre really, but to have such prominent franchise characters like Jason, the Leprechaun, go to space and make sense warms my heart. And it really does.
You're using "make sense" very liberally, especially when it comes
to
Leprechaun 4. But
if you saw my brain, it makes sense. But I think that when it works, it lies in the set tone, because Brian Collins was on when we did Jason X, and he was talking about how the problem with Jason X is that it doesn't really it doesn't know what kind of movie it wants to be, because it goes from being this serious sci-fi thing to, it wants to be a comedy, and nobody's on the same page. And I think whereas Leprechaun 4, it's aware of what it was from the go. Like, it's a comedy. The problem is comedy doesn't land. So it doesn't really work. At least for me personally, it doesn't work. I think Critters is that nice little in-between blend there.
Critters, at least, I think, understands its tone. Because
yes.
Critters historically has been a funny thing, whereas Leprechaun kind of evolves into, this is so ridiculous, why are we still doing it? Because we make money every time we put it in video stores. And it's kind of like, we're just going to try stuff out. Whereas Critters is initially trying to be this sort of farmland Gremlins, and it evolves that over time. And then here it feels like it's going in a different direction. We're going to put this in a place it's never been before.
Yeah.
But it is inherent to what Critters is.
Right.
Leprechaun 4 is just like, we have access to a warehouse, and Alien Resurrection comes out in months. And that's it. That's why.
You say. Sorry.
True. The entire point of Leprechaun 4 is to confuse dorks when they go into a video store. And like my kid said he wanted some horror movie that takes place in space, and they look like Leprechaun 4 in space. It says it right there in the title.
I mean, yeah,
And
it tells you everything.
It tells you everything you need to know. You don't know going into it that someone's going to end up getting hit in the face with a frying pan and their face becomes
makes me
frying pan shaped.
It's like
That's the
freaking
kind of movie
Drop
you're
Dead
gonna
Fred
get
right
out.
there. Yeah, that makes me so
But
uncomfortable.
it's not in comparison to like the leap between Leprechaun in the Hood and Leprechaun 4 in space. There is a continuity when it comes to what it's attempting to do in tone. Critters 4 is at least a continuance in theme.
Right. Yeah.
But Hellraiser is just like people going, I have access to a traveling star mat. That's what that comes down to.
The beginning of the end.
Enough, I would almost call it the most successful out of this grouping.
It really was
in space movies.
It was, and I'm saving that for last because that's its old and other beast there. But I mean, with Leprechaun in space, my favorite part, not like in the movie, but my favorite aspect of that film has to be that is not the first movie to exist where the villain rises up from the dead through someone's dick. I mean, through being pissed on.
Well, you know, it was a pathway that's available. And honestly, if he wanted to close it down, he did a terrible job doing that.
Yeah.
I don't know why the Leprechaun comes out of there's a haunted pee element. I think it enters through the urethra and exits through the urethra. So I almost feel like they're trying to go like, well, Alien definitely has the throat. What do we do that's different? And they're like, pee hole? Yes. Pee hole.
And there's a lot of talk about syphilis and STDs and everything with that. I don't know if that has anything to do with it, but I appreciate a film where someone gets reanimated through someone's dick.
Yeah. I do enjoy elements that sort of they all are taking from some of the same sources. And we mentioned Jason X, a film I have a very difficult relationship with.
Same.
Because on Kill by Kill, we initially started off just talking about every single individual character in the order in which they died in the Friday the 13th franchise. And Jason X has about 1,100 deaths in it. And we got to like the 6th, 7th episode, and my brain started to leak out through my nose. I just couldn't find what was different about this group of dorks than the previous group of dorks. But at least the through line of let's do Space Marines happens in Leprechaun 4 and in Jason X. I can't tell you which is more successful at that. I can tell you that in Jason X, they wear these chest shields that have a lamp that's supposed to illuminate their face. But what it does is just shine light in their eyes, which is hard when you're aiming guns at things. I'm not a gun expert, but I'm just going to go on a limb. You do not want light shining directly into your eyes when you're aiming pew-pews.
No, you don't. And I didn't even realize that. That's when I stumbled across Kill by Kill, was when you were taking each kill, like each episode. And I remember I was there to witness, not firsthand, but I listened to the downfall, the mental downfall as you were going through those episodes. And I thought, you know what?
The formula really only works with Friday the 13th because because its individual paper people characters work for that format. But when you try to like take that route with something like Leprechaun 4, you're really left with nothing. If I took 3 episodes to go through each and every character in that detail in Leprechaun 4, I wouldn't be here.
Yeah.
I would be at a gravesite with my son doing this next to it, lean down. That's what's going to happen. I'm not going to be here anymore. So
I don't blame you.
Some amendments to the show.
I don't blame you. Leprechaun 4 it's definitely not my favorite. And It's a
And yet
little weird.
if you are, let's say you're watching it with a group and you're all maybe drinking a little something or
Right.
ingesting a little something, that in a group setting, Leprechaun 4 is a fun time.
And
I
yes,
even say Critters 4 is a fun time.
right.
Jason X, not my version of a fun time, but I know plenty of people. I see people online every day who, with their whole chest, say Jason X is my favorite Friday the 13th movie. Do I understand it? No. Do I condone it? Actually, no. But I do understand it because art is an emotional reaction.
Exactly.
And if something, causes joy, who am I to like shout that down? Like what you like.
No, exactly. And that's why I would never judge anybody. Just the same way I hope no one would judge me for saying Friday the 13th Part 7 is one of my favorites. Top 3, baby.
Too,
Thank you. Thank you. Whew.
It's great makeup. I love the characters. It is ridiculous. It doesn't make any sense.
No.
I can't tell you why that psychologist thinks taking this girl to the cabin which she murdered her dad is going to help him make $, $, from her psychic talents. And yet he does it.
So good. I love that movie so much. But no,
at one point she picks up a potted plant and smacks Jason in the face with it, and it has a head inside the potted plant.
Yeah,
that's a headbutt. Come on, y'all. That's a fun fucking time.
So good. Anyway, don't get me started on that because I will talk and you'll have to leave and we won't even get to Bloodline.
Then let's get back into space where we belong.
Yes. What I was going to say to piggyback of what you said about the group viewing is that's something I actually discovered yesterday because the last one of these that I watched to prep for this was Leprechaun in Space. I hadn't seen that since I was a kid. I don't even remember it very well. And it was a perfect example of me alone on the couch trying to sit there, focus on this movie. Mm-hmm. It just made me it made me feel dirty. Like I was just very uncomfortable. And I thought I shouldn't be actively watching it on a Blu-ray that I own, mind you.
I mean, it should be noted, like the movie's directed by Brian Trenchard Smith.
Right.
Who, again, like someone who is like an Ozploitation legend. I mean, BMX Bandits, Dead End Drive-In, Night of the Demons 2. He directed Turkey Shoot, which is a great Grindhouse classic.
Okay.
So, he had directed the third movie, and I just think they saw an Alien sequel on the books for a couple months, and then like, we've got to beat this to the punch.
Right.
And so they go for it. And, your mileage may vary.
Exactly. There you go. They went for it. That's all that needs to be said. And I think it's really, and that makes sense because I was going to ask, I noticed that these both took place in 1996 and Resurrection was 97, right? Or not, was that right? 97.
Yeah.
Or wait, no.
It comes out 97, but it's definitely something that they've carved out a release date for it. And so I think everyone's kind of hungry to sort of like coast off of what is a big property. I mean, it's a big thing, especially when we were in the video store era, where you're trying to do something that's semi-similar so that when people go to a new release wall, they might get confused and pick up your movie instead of what they went there to get.
Is that kind of like what Galaxy of Terror was about?
Unfortunately, Galaxy of Terror, listen, I am the world's biggest Galaxy of Terror apologist, even though it is legitimately disgusting, completely confused,
right,
and features one of the grossest assaults ever put into a space movie. And yet, like, it has some of the grisliest deaths you ever seen on camera. And I kind of love it. It is audacious.
It really is.
It looks good in a way that a lot of these cheap space movies don't, because you have the future director of Aliens and Avatar who's doing special effects for this. And he makes it look like he stretches $1. Like, it's incredibly looking, in my opinion.
Well, I mean, it's no Critters 4. but
No, not much is. And yet,
Exactly.
like Critters 4, as we said before, it's the Critters franchise has this ability to, find people who are amazing, before they hit it big. And it's no different. Like you end up having people in this movie that go on to okay careers, and then you you also have people who do really well for themselves.
Angela Bassett,
Angela Bassett, who I not to brag, but today I was writing for Angela Bassett.
Oh, no way.
I can instantly, she's one of those people whose voice I can very much inhabit because she's so iconic.
Yeah.
And she is no different here. She's always been Angela Bassett. You could put her on the front of a ship. She is that iconic.
Yeah.
And she isn't undone here. This does not derail her career.
She does great in this. I like her as a final girl in this. She's awesome. But I think
she's gorgeous. Her voice is so iconic. Everything about her is fantastic, and she's trying her best. I mean, she's got people like she might not be surrounded by the greatest, but
that Iggy
she's
Pop
doing stuff
kind of Timu I'll probably cut that, but that captain is something else.
He's not nobody.
No,
Brad
he's not.
Dourif, who I could watch read the the phone book.
Oh, yeah.
Anne Ramsey shows up for 5 minutes. So you got that.
It's a good cast.
Yeah, it's not bad. Wait, if I read that cast to you and said it's a horror movie in space, you'd be like, yeah, let's watch that.
It'd be great.
Sure, why not? Let's kidnap a boy. This is where I do wonder whether or not the original plotting of Guardians of the Galaxy is somewhat influenced by Critters 4.
I will die on that hill. If you tell me that, I will hold on to that and die on that hill, because that would make Marvel's universe so much better. I would appreciate it so much more.
He's a grab bag of influences. He's is not he's very associated with his grindhouse and cheapy past. And if somewhere along the lines he was thinking, how do I get this kid in space? When he's a child. Well, Critters 4, he kind of gets zapped up and he just kind of grows up there. We'll do something like that.
Yeah. Well, something like that. And then my gosh.
We'll make it work.
Oh, now I can't unsee it. Oh, you've changed my life, Patrick. You've changed my life.
Either improved Critters 4 or ruined Guardians of the Galaxy.
Probably a little bit of both. But I think that's a good segue to the last one on my list, which also stars a big name in today's world, Mr. Adam Scott. And I would be lying if I said the main reason why I wanted to talk about this was because of the wig he wears, because of his fucking wigs in this movie. That's all I care about. And the fact that it's an Alan Smithy film.
Yeah, I mean, the Alan Smithy of it all is fascinating.
I forgot that until I put it on, and then it's an Alan Smithy film, and it's very rare when you see that just in your face, and it made me so happy.
But this is one of those. This is an era, and it's this is actually pre-Scream era of Dimension film,
right?
But you do have two people, one of whom is a convicted and jailed sex offender, who they believe they know exactly what a horror movie is supposed to be.
Right.
And the more involved in a horror movie they get, the worse it seems to turn out.
Yeah.
And those movies that survived, that overcame the burden of being associated with those two men whose names I don't believe should be mentioned.
No, we don't. They don't exist here.
They happened because they were able to either sneak under the radar or overcome
Yeah.
objections, whereas after Scream, they just tend to be so overbearing about what they believe a horror movie should be and are routinely proven wrong. They are bad at it. And it's a shame that things like Hellraiser and Halloween were just cordoned off by these two dorks for so long.
Oh,
And Kevin Yeager, wanted to make something that was serious,
right.
that had scope to it, that was going places, that would make fans of the movie accept the, fantastical outer space elements, because we're already talking about people who travel in between a hell dimension.
Right.
What space to that?
Right.
But, he had a legitimate idea, and they just wanted to make it something else that wasn't good.
See, I don't know much of that backstory at all of that movie, but you watch it and there's a backstory. That there's more to it, because it seems like, the premise was good. I would believe it. But also, I don't know if this was part of that, but Pinhead, lead Cenobite, turns a little comedic, trying to go a little comedic in this one. Talks a little too much.
And you don't know what of the movie you're watching was what Yeager directed or the reshoots that happen after he's kind of forced out. So that's where I don't know where tone is. It's hard to determine exactly what this was meant to be versus what Miramax is trying to create after fashion.
I didn't even think about that.
I agree with you. This has that sort of dire messing with it energy that I don't even think that Critters 4 or Leprechaun 4 have to deal with.
No.
Those are exactly, for good or for bad, it's a double-edged sword. Those work out exactly the way they're intended to. Hellraiser Bloodline, on the other hand, is something that is kind of a cursed object just based on people meddling with it.
Yeah. And you can tell when you're watching it, and it just feels off. But I mean, I will say the effects are still great in it. At least it's got that going
Yeager
for it.
knows how to do in-camera stuff. This is a time that's way too early for cheap, horror sequels to be using a ton of CGI.
Yeah.
So he's really doing a lot of old-fashioned, in-camera effects work. And that stuff really sings. You can't look at that and go, hey, this person doesn't know how to make a movie.
Right.
It's where you can tell that this scene doesn't feel like that scene. That's where you have, random elements being shot by someone who isn't the original director.
Right. And this was the last of the theatrical releases, right?
Yeah.
I think. I mean,
yes. I don't even know if it's, I guess it's got a box office. So they did release it. Like, it was supposedly a budget of $4 million and it makes a little over $9 million.
Oh.
So at that point, you got a 2-time multiplier before it hits video stores. I would call that a success.
Yeah.
But if they had actually allowed Yeager to release the film he wanted to make, it probably would have made more. That's
so frustrating.
Would be my guess.
That would be my guess too. So out of all of these, what is your favorite? Which one's your favorite?
I think Hellraiser is just compromised. There is definitely elements of that I enjoy, but it's too mired in too many other things. I enjoy Adam Scott in it. I enjoy his weird wig.
He's a vampire. He's not aged.
Later on in his career. It's nice to see him in an early role here. But I think Leprechaun 4 in space is my favorite.
Okay. Interesting. Okay.
I think Critters 4 is a little hampered. I am probably not the biggest Critters fan, so it's not really made for me. I feel that they're trying to shove in some things here that are like, hey, how can we outdo a massive ball of rolling Krites sort of energy. And that's where you get into the sort of weird
what
other creatures that it becomes in the egg situation. There's a lot going on there. Leprechaun 4 is ridiculous from second one till the end of its 95 minutes.
Ugh. In the best way possible. When I say awful, I actually mean great. I want people to understand that because I never bash. I never bash these movies.
Russia first, and then in the rest of the world later. That's the sign of quality.
Exactly. I think, maybe I should give that one another try. I don't know. I don't know how I feel about the Leprechaun
movie
franchise.
It's something you have on in the background. You don't have to explain.
That's probably the key.
If I had a sort of Halloween party in my house and I have an outdoor screen, that might be something I just put on without audio.
See, you should do that and invite the Deadites because I'm sure I would love it then. I mean, I still appreciate it, but I'm sure I would really love it then.
Let's make it happen.
Oh, that's exciting.
This yard was meant for people to enjoy.
It was meant for Leprechaun in space. If you, of all the franchise villains and antagonists, who would you want to see next in space?
I mean, I'll be honest with you. I think the one opportunity that was never taken and will never happen is A Nightmare on Elm Street with a space element, where people are forced for long periods of time to be asleep. I think that's also like no one's going to pay the money to reboot Nightmare on Elm Street and then immediately after your reboot go, all right, let's put this asshole in space. Let's make this happen.
I think that's exactly what they should do.
Pay money for that.
Hey, send Robert Englund back to space.
Hey, listen, if you're one of those people who can get a license to Nightmare on Elm Street and write a novel, I think that might be a way to explore it, or a comic book, that sort of thing. Because just with space sleep and all that, it seems like there's an opportunity there that a dream demon might take advantage of.
That's amazing. And he's silly. Like, you could have fun with it. I didn't even think about that. See, I thought
it could be silly, it could be serious. I think there's lots of, like, I listen, I know that he became a pop culture object and I'm fine with that. But I do think there is a place between the overly serious 2010 Cursed remake and the at the height of his powers wackiness of Freddy's Dead. That place in the middle where he is allowed to be irreverent, but not going for punchlines all the time.
Yeah.
There's that one little sequence in Freddy versus Jason where you get a legitimate Nightmare on Elm Street sequence where he kills somebody in a dream. And
I think I know what you're talking about.
Works. That is the best part of that movie. Far and away, it's the best part.
Is it the locker?
The faucets turn into tiny little hands with his claws on it.
In Freddy versus Jason?
Yes. The one guy whose brother.
So was that a callback to Dream Warriors? Because I
assume it is.
That's probably why. Yeah, I mean,
probably why. But
that's right.
For a second there, it legitimately has a 5-minute sequence that takes Freddy Krueger seriously.
Right.
And it just pops so hard in that movie where they're unsure of what tone they're necessarily going for. That's the one element where you can just feel it dialed in, where everyone's like, let's make one really good Freddy Krueger sequence. And it just pops, baby. I love that part.
No, I forgot about that part, honestly. That's awesome.
I think because there's so much other stuff that's happening in that movie, it becomes a kung fu battle.
Oh yeah. It's a new metal.
At some point they're like, Freddy's afraid of fire and Jason's afraid of water.
How can we use that?
He walks through the Atlantic Ocean. I think that would have raised some. And part 4, he swims like Mark Spitz. It's insane. Like, he is literally doing that thing where he kicks hard in the water. And raises his body up.
Oh yeah.
Like,
he ain't afraid of the water.
At some point, he really did learn how to swim, and good for him.
You know what? That's what all the observing of the counselors did for him growing up. He learned by watching.
He learned by watching.
See,
if he's a real person and not just a death curse. But
he's
we'll never
a real
know.
person, okay? Jeez. Does nobody believe that? I'm going to turn into Crazy Ralph in my future. That's what I see. But I will say, though, I think that Chucky should go to space, and I feel like he will go to space. I don't know if I read something about Mancini.
Let's hope that he, the entertainment industry is in a bit of flux right now.
Oh, he better go to space.
I think one of the greatest horror spotlights on TV where it is shined the brightest is that Chucky TV show.
It's great.
Because Chucky, in my mind, is the franchise that has been able to do more things in its time where, that character has evolved. Like, he's still a serial killer, but also he's proud of his queer, kids.
Right.
And that is one of those things that you never would have seen coming just wandering into a movie theater to see Child's Play.
Oh, and that started early on too, before.
It's so wild. And that TV show just takes advantage of the you can do anything on television, mantra, and to very entertaining effect.
Well, let's see what happens, Don Mancini, because I know you're watching this. You're listening. So because we said it here. I'm
not entirely sure it's left up to Don. That would be a universal get your stuff in
Universal.
Get more Chucky on.
I know you're influenced by this podcast, so
come on, Universal, you can.
Let's get on it. Well, I know time is limited, and I really think that's all that needs to be said about these movies. That I could go into a deep dive.
About that one robot in Leprechaun 4 who puts on a drag show.
Oh yeah, they did randomly the drag show.
Randomly, non-randomly. Did they mean for that to happen the entire time, or was it just, a happy accident? I'm not particularly sure, but I do enjoy it.
I do want to go with that. I would like to see a spinoff of that. I would see that. That would entertain me. But, I guess that's it for now. If anybody listening to this or watching this enjoys these films, please let us know, because I would like to talk more about all of my favorite 80s and 90s movies like Critters 4 and what's another really interesting one? I can't think. Whatever. I'm on a tangent.
Well, at the second we get into the nitty gritty of Galaxy of Terror, I'm right back. I'm
excellent.
Reserving my spot.
But anyway, thank you so much for joining us on this one-off bonus episode to indulge probably just me. And this officially concludes our month of spaceship slaughters. So I hope you enjoyed everything we talked about. And Patrick, where can people listen to you? Give out your stats.
Kill by Kill is available wherever you find podcasts. We've been doing it for a while. We're on most of the socials with the exception of Twitter. I don't deal with that. And we're just having a good time talking about horror movie characters in the order in which they die. That is our raison d'etre, and will remain so.
And I can attest to the fact that it's a great podcast. I listen to it on all of my drives, and I love it. So please be sure to check it out. We also have a Patreon that just launched. So if you want to see, why am I was just staring like under the camera this whole time. Let's look at the camera. Let's try that. We have a Patreon where you can see uncut things like what just happened. You will find that in the Patreon. In fact, you're watching it right now. If you're listening or watching this, whoa, super meta. So be sure to look out for that if you want to support us. You can like, subscribe, follow on YouTube. You can listen to us wherever you get your podcasts, and we're on all socials. Instagram, well, not all, but we're on Instagram, TikTok, Letterboxd. Check us out. And until next time, sweet screams, everyone.
And whatever you do, don't fall asleep first.
Ooh, Patrick Hamilton gonna get you in space.